Hey there, guys. TD Wells back in the building. And I know I missed 2 weeks. I'm 2 weeks behind in posting. I have everything here ready to go, ready to launch. Because the thing is that, remember, you never should join anything. You should always launch. And that is really what I've been doing with just about everything I do. And I want to share those things with you. And I want to teach people. I want to show people with the information, not just information, but basically getting you to implement on a daily basis. So with that being said, guys, here's one of the reasons that I actually implement personal development in my podcast. Now, I know specifically that what I do is I raise capital for small business. I also do commercial real estate loans. And at the end of the day, that's my bread and butter. And in addition to that, I own a credit repair company. Now, no one wants to ever hear about credit repair because we all want excellent credit. And I feel like everybody deserves tier 1 credit. And tier 1 credit, that's basically you having the ability to increase your score to a 750 or better. Now, when you have a 750 credit score or better, basically you can leverage other people's cash. And that is what I teach. That's what I help people do. And what I'm seeking for 2021 is to not only engage, but assist more than 1,500 people in small business and credit to restore their credit, to get it back to where it should be, to create generational wealth, to be able to share that with others. But here's the thing, without personal development and that mindset, it's really difficult for people to understand. They get it. Like, I think most people want to make their credit good, but they don't have the mindset to do that. And what ends up happening is that we get clients through the door, and sometimes most people expect miracles. And I don't want to digress off of the subject that we're talking about. But at the end of the day, it's a process. Credit restoration is a process. Not only that, building wealth is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. There is a saying, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. And you will have your ups, you will have your downs. It's inevitable. Expect it. So with that being said, understand that personal development is needed for you, for anyone to achieve their goals. And our company helping you raise capital, in addition to helping you increase your credit scores to a 750 or better, because everybody deserves good credit. So today what we're going to be talking about is facing fear. All right. Now, remember, this is a success in 12-week program. So I want you guys to really listen in and hone in and get your notes and focus on some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, because this is going to be really critical to your success and moving forward through this program and internally for all the things that you may need. So what we're going to focus, like I said, today on is facing fear. So I just want to welcome you all back. And as we move forward into the week, in week 5, we're discussing everybody's favorite topic, like the topic of fear, right? I don't know, and I'm being a little sarcastic because I don't know if it's your favorite topic, but I know there's a saying that's attached, there's an acronym attached to fear, and it's false evidence appearing real. So what do you do to face your fears? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about what I want you to think about in this week is take some time to think about your most fearful situation and how, like, our natural fear responses, or your natural fear responses that happens in our brain, how they can really negatively impact us, and then how to actually face those fears. Because here's the deal. You're not going to be able to necessarily remove them, but how you face them and how to move through them so that you can start doing the things that you want to do and achieving all the things that you really want in your life, right? So that way it allows you to no longer be held back by your fear. So that's what I mean by not being able to remove them. They're going to still be there. They will still be there at the end of the day, but there is a way to combat that and basically not be able to feel the fear in your life, right? So it doesn't matter how big people think they are, how tough they think they are. None of that stuff matters. Everybody has something that they fear, right? And it might be someone that you admire. They fear people. They fear not people. They fear things, and maybe people too. I don't know. And at the end of the day, that's something that they have to overcome. But they're successful for a reason, because they were disciplined and enabling or disabling the fear in their life. So, and as I was saying, the most successful people in any field have fears, and we all have them. So here's what I would say. None of us are immune to that. And it basically boils down to the ability to face that fear and move through them. So here's the good news, is if any of us face fears, the quickest way to basically deal with those fears is by dealing with them directly, head on. By repeatedly facing your fears, or our fears, head on, you can manage them until they basically go away, until they no longer exist, or at least they're so small that they were so small at that one point that you didn't even really, it wasn't even a factor. So let's talk about what fear really is. It really comes down to the understanding of what fear is. And I want you to really grasp this concept. Typically, fear is your brain's response to a certain situation or circumstance in your life that you deem unsafe or uncertain, right? So think about that for a second. Now, this is the area that I really need you to take notes, because we're going to talk about all the things that are needed to overcome the fear. And if you ever think about certain things that happen in your life, most of the time when you fear them, you don't really know anything about it. You don't really know. You don't know what to expect. And that's one of the reasons that most people have fear. Actually, all of the reason that most people have fear. I mean, if you stand on an edge of a building, right, for example, that's 20 stories up, naturally your brain is probably going to be going a little crazy, warning you not to get any closer to the edge, right? And that's a very good thing, obviously. And that fear response keeps you alive. That's what keeps us alive every day. So the problem is that these same kind of responses, from an emotional to a physical type of response, can happen when we're trying to just do everyday normal things, or we're doing things outside of the normal routines, right? That's when things happen and we start to fear, or habits that are helping us progress our goals. And those are, like I said, those are habits that are going to help us progress our goals, right? If we're basically kind of changing our routines. But we get the same negative or discomforted feelings if we do change our routines, if we start to change things. And I think that's where most people don't really understand that they have to basically get uncomfortable to be comfortable. And it causes us to retreat at the end of the day, right? If we're uncomfortable, we instantly kind of go back into that shell, like that turtle, go back into the shell, because it's an uncomfortable situation. But instead of being at the edge of the building, right, we're just at the edge of a new experience that may involve us talking to someone you've never talked to before, or making a presentation in a whatever, in front of a bunch of people in a boardroom, whatever it is, whatever that may be, or going into a busy area you may not be comfortable with. It happens all the time. It happens every single day to us, every single day. If you make the wrong turn, you're in an uncomfortable situation in your car, and you go down the wrong street, and now all of a sudden you're in a whole new area and you don't know where you are, right? You get uncomfortable, you get a little nervous. Maybe you just stop and just put your GPS on. And then once you kind of realize, okay, my GPS is going to get me back out to safety, then you're good, right? I don't know what it is for you, but these things are going to happen, and these kind of responses will happen when you begin to take new actions that are in line with your goals of things you've never done before. So it all comes down to understanding this process and then working with it. Knowing and understanding, you will feel this way, but it's okay. And you're not going to die, but you're going to work your way through these feelings so that you can become the kind of person that acts basically anyways. You need to take action, right? Because most people don't take action, they just talk about it. And that's where part of the fear comes from, is not taking action, but having all the information and knowledge, but just not taking. It's like, it's interesting. I'm going to tell this quick story. I can remember just going through just think of going through college, or just anything that you've ever done that you're trying to achieve something. Sometimes when you enter into, I'm going to use college. If you go to college and, let's say 50 people went that you knew, how many of them actually get to the end? Not a lot of people actually finish what they started, or maybe sometimes they don't even really get started. And that's that old saying, right? There's an old saying that I remember listening to in the past, and it says, if you don't take the shot, or something to that degree, if you don't take the shot, then you missed I know what it was, is you miss all of the shots that you never take, or something like that, to that degree. I gotta look that up, but I kind of digressed off of it. But if you don't take the shot, you're never gonna know. And so that's one of the things. It's kind of like when you're approaching someone, and you want to meet somebody, right? Or let's say for a guy, you want to meet a new girl, or vice versa. If you don't go and basically find out if they're interested, then you're never going to know, right? And then all of a sudden you just lost an opportunity. So my point is the point of the moral of the story is that you should never lose an opportunity. You should always be able to confront your fears. And I think a better example is public speaking. Most people have a general fear of public speaking. If you were to go and ask 10 of your friends or coworkers, probably 9 or more would agree that getting up and speaking in public is not a comfortable experience for them. And that's probably just because they don't really know how to prepare for that. But think about it, if you were prepared and it was something that you were passionate about and you loved talking about, you're already talking about it to one person. So basically you have the understanding and the ability to get up there and talk in front of a bunch of people. But most people don't feel that way. They feel the fear and they just don't want to do it. And that's a natural fear response there, right? So then you look at somebody like a startup comedian or a famous presenter or speaker, and you wonder, how do they do it? How do they have no fear, right? They practiced, right? Because that's the thing, you have to be able to practice. I mean, it's a weird way of thinking, but it's true. You think they don't have fear, but the truth is they did at some point, right? Everybody does. No one's immune to it. So they may not have it anymore, but a lot of them still do. And if you do some research on some famous comedians or performers, they still admit to having stage fright or jitters or whatever you want to call it right before they get up on stage. And they've just found ways to work through that fear. And I can remember, I'll tell you a quick story. I started in the field. How I started was knocking on doors. I was a salesperson / entrepreneur at a very young age. And I can recall just having the fear to go up and knock on doors and say, hey, how you doing? Would you be interested in this? And, actually really did take a skill set to get people to actually open the door and buy something from me. And it took me years to develop that skill. But just going door to door gave me the communication ability. It allowed me to effectively communicate with people to this day and age. So for right now, even though I had those failures in the past, it actually helped me now in my adult life. And so that's what I'm saying to you, is that the blueprint that you currently lived with doesn't have to be. You just have to practice and you have to get better and you have to overcome it, knowing that nobody really, the no's that I was getting knocking on doors, it wasn't personal. It was actually building my self-esteem and my confidence and my ability to be able to get up there. Now you can only imagine comedians are going to get heckled and everything else that comes with that. So I think that's the part that most people miss, is that most people fear rejection, and they just got to understand that rejection isn't personal. That's what I want you to get. That's what I wanted you to get out of this today. So they just basically found ways to work through those fears, those people, those individuals, those comedians, whoever, myself, and they're all faced with whatever they're feeling. Usually it makes them feel, I guess, alive once they're in the moment, right? And you start to get positive feedback. You start to feel great, But if your presentation isn't going well or whatever that may be, then you may have to just kind of take a step back and recap. But as long as you practiced and you're disciplined and you got up there and you had no fear from that angle, then I think you should be fine. Now, it's just a matter of understanding that you too are going to have to go through the same exact things, guys. So here are the action steps that I want you to take. What we're going to do this week is assign a couple of different action steps, like 4 in total, that's going to help you become the kind of person who can take action in the face of fear and who will ultimately work and act in spite of fear. And it's all going to start with your conscious awareness of what your fears are. Now, a lot of us go around avoiding things in our day-to-day life, and it's just those are just normal things. It's going to happen because we're afraid, but we don't actually consciously realize that we're afraid of those things. It's kind of interesting. Now, this week, your very first week, you're going to sit down and from time to time start thinking of different things that cause you to feel fear. It could be like I said earlier, the fear of public speaking. Just visualize yourself doing that, right? And now when you visualize yourself doing it, you will overcome the fear. Or the fear of introducing yourself to somebody you've never met before. That's fearful for a lot of guys and women as well. Like everybody, we're all shy. Like I said, no one's immune to it. A lot of our fears end up being social, but it could be anything. Maybe you have a fear of heights. Put that down so you can become aware of it and you can acknowledge this is something you're fearful of. Here's what I want you to do. Make a list as long as you can so you know what your fears are. Like moving into this next exercise, guys, I want you to start thinking about which of those fears on your list are actually holding you back from the goals you set for your life in this program. Thinking about the month to month number 1, or week number 1, when we talked about that, or we talked about the initial phases. I think it was goals that we talked about, right? Think about all of those things. What fears were you able to overcome? List any fears, guys, that could potentially impact those goals, and then I want you to state why. Let's say you want to start a new business, but you have a fear of talking to new people or approaching new people. Starting a new business generally requires selling your idea, selling other people on what it is you're trying to do, right? So if you have a huge fear of approaching people or meeting new people, that is going to be a huge problem. So here's a fear that you could start looking at as something that you need to address like immediately. And once you get to that point, you want to choose a fear from the list you've written and started thinking of a couple of ways that you can confront it. Now, again, this is a way to overcome it. Now, you need to really focus on this, guys, and really tune in. If you do have a fear of talking to or approaching new people, what are some of the ways you can get around that? It could be going to a networking event. These days, in this day and age, I don't think they have them, but you can get on a Zoom call, and that's the first initial steps to overcoming it. Getting on a Zoom call and doing a presentation, that's not easy either. It could be randomly introducing yourself to strangers on the street. That's something I used to practice years ago. Just saying hello, hi, how are you, right? That's going to build the confidence. It could be attending some kind of community event where you'll have the opportunity to meet new people. You can list all the different ideas that come to your mind and then confront the fear. Take one or more actions based on these ideas that you come up with. If it's speaking to somebody, maybe you just confront the fear head on and literally walk up to somebody in public and introduce yourself, right? That's definitely different. It's kind of like a cold meeting, right? Or cold introduction in ways. But if you do it in your own way and you just be authentic, I think there's not going to be any issues with that. So look, you're going to feel scared. You may look like an idiot. You may really feel awkward, and they're going to wonder why the heck you're doing this. Why are you coming up to approach me? But hey, just maybe it needs to be the opposite sex or whatever it is that you're attracted to at that point in time. I think that's where we have to focus on that point, right? So if you felt like, if you're going to feel scared, you may look like I said, you might look like an idiot. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You didn't know that person anyway. So I think at that point, you need to just go ahead and focus on just doing the exercise, not worried about what that person thinks. And you'll keep doing it to the point where at some point down the road, that fear will have dissipated completely, so far down in terms of basically there's going to be so much in terms of the process, right? That it won't really feel that much of fear anymore that you're doing it. This is generally how we progress in anything in life. It's just now time this week to start doing it when it comes to your fears so that they no longer hold you back, guys. Literally, I want you to take all these exercises to heart. Really think about your fears. Really take action on all of these opportunities you have to confront them. And by the end of the week, you'll be the type of person who feels the fear and does it anyway, which is really awesome. So look, thank you for listening. I appreciate you all. If you have any questions, please chime in, message me here. You can always find me and basically follow me at Coach TD Wells. That's my personal development page. But I'm doing a bunch of different things on that page, as I mentioned. I also have a credit restoration company, a credit score improvement company, and that company is Tier 1 Credit Repair Services. So that would be www.tier1creditservices.com. And if you're looking for some interim cash, or you need to get capital to go ahead and get your projects funded, or commercial loans for any type of commercial real estate or anything that you're doing, I can go up to now $75 million. So I can start at 50K and go up to 75 million. And I can show you how to get creative in your financing, get creative in your commercial financing or even residential investment loans. We can handle those as well. But at the end of the day, look, we raise capital. We want to help a lot of people this year, more than 1,500, get into their first business and or their first commercial piece of real estate, whatever that may be. And you can find me. You can reach me at any point in time. You can email me at info@wellscapitalfunding.com, or you can message me here. Looking forward to the next week, and you guys enjoy the rest of your week and have a great day.